Hi everyone, this is Josh with Josh Wright Piano TV. Today's episode is based on tone quality, and it's dedicated to Ofer Horowitz, who is a very great young pianist and who's been emailing me with a couple of different questions. And this question is something I'm actually surprised I haven't done a video on, because I'm kind of a freak about tone quality, almost to the point of teachers saying, okay Josh, you can't play so soft all the time. Tone quality has to do with the concept that you don't want to play harsh. So if you were playing the beginning of Beethoven Concerto number 4, you wouldn't want that harsh sound. You'd want something very beautiful. Or if you're playing super loud things, let's say you're playing, let me think of a good example, Chopin Ballade number 3. A lot of times people, it almost might even make that microphone distort there, I'm not sure. But it's this harsh hitting sound versus playing super loud, but still having good tone to it. It would be like screeching and really digging into a violin string versus, having nice heavy weight on that on the strings via the bow, but still making that gorgeous, full, rich sound. I think it'd probably even be a little bit more obvious with something like a stringed instrument. So on piano, you have to be careful. And to be honest, there are so many different instances, even in great professional recordings where you will hear harsh notes, that it's a very subjective concept. And a lot of people, if I was to point, I'm not going to point to specific examples, but if I was to point to specific examples of very famous artists where I felt like they were actually too harsh, I know I'd get a ton of hate mail like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about because they were much better pianists than you. And of course they are. They're better pianists than I am. I'm talking some of the most famous pianists in history, but occasionally you will hear them play a harsh note, and it's so brash and abrasive, it almost hurts your ears. And my teachers, Susan Duhlmeyer, Logan Skelton, and Sergei Babayan, have always stressed that that you want to play with deep and rich feeling. I'm going to take a piece that might be a little bit unexpected for a tone quality piece, or a tone quality video, and it's this Schubert G major sonata, which is just heaven. Okay, because we've already established the fact that if you're playing really big chords, you don't want to come from above. You always want to play from the keys versus a lot of times harsh tone quality comes from your wrist. But in this Schubert, what am I talking about with good tone quality here? It has to do with how the melody is voiced, how you're sinking your weight into the key. So the weight comes from the arm, travels through the wrist, down into a pretty solid fingertip, but the hand itself can have a little bit of give. And that's at least how I think of varying dynamics. So if I want to play something rich and beautiful, let's say that this was written forte or fortissimo, I'd still play from the key, and I'd have less give in my wrist. It would stay more solid. So I'm not going to, let it sink, as much. Not as much rubbery feeling here. It'd be a little more solid, but you'd still play from the keys in order to get a good tone quality. Now, with soft, you do the same thing. With pianissimo, you'd still do the same thing, but you'd have a little more give. Voice your top. I have plenty of videos on voicing. Check those out. And you want to make sure that the left hand as well. A lot of people, when they're talking about tone quality, also plays into balance between the melody and the accompaniment. How do we get the soft left hand? You could pull back a little bit. playing from the keys, and I'm transferring the weight. I never force the weight into it. Okay, let's talk about a totally extreme different example. Let's maybe take the coda of the second ballade. I've been performing all the ballades quite a bit lately, and I always demonstrate with the first ballade because I've known it the longest. But we'll take something like... The way you don't get harsh... Again, you try not to play too far above. A lot of teachers teach this, and it's actually a totally good and sound concept. They'll say, drop your weight into the keys, drop your weight into the keys, and they'll just have you do that over and over again. But I don't like teaching that way, because what this does is sometimes if you feel like you're dropping into the keys, sometimes students will force it a little bit, and then you get that really harsh, ugly sound. So you want to, I always like to tell my students, play from the keys, and then play down and up, kind of. Okay, so. Okay, now fast. Those got a little harsh at the end. Let's see. I should also mention that tone quality is often derived from tension. Bad tone quality is often derived from bad tension in your hands. So if you have a tense hand versus, that still sounds nice and loud, but so I hope this video has been helpful. Mostly play from the keys, and you can transfer more weight or less weight, but you still always want to use arm weight to transfer into the keys to get that nice, beautiful, rich singing tone quality. And you could have a little bit more give and rubberiness in your hand when you want the tone quality to be softer, and when you want it to be more solid, just keep your wrist and your hand more solid. Not tense, but just solid. Like you don't want to hold bad tension like you feel like it's locked. I hope this has been helpful. If any of you have any questions, my email is josh@joshwrightpiano.com. You can check out, if you want to hear the Schubert G major, it is on our new meditation CD that my wife and I recently released. So I will link an iTunes link to that below, and also a link to my website, and you can purchase a signed copy if you're interested in that for yourself or for a gift. So thank you so much. Have a great week.